Good evening and welcome to the District 2 Advisory Board meeting for Monday, February 13th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. I am Becky Tuttle and it is my privilege and honor to serve as City Council member representing District 2. So what we like to do in District 2 is we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. When we do, we'll ask the District Advisory Board members to introduce themselves, what neighborhood you represent, and what's your favorite thing about Wichita. And you can't repeat what someone else said. And we are going to start this time with Corey because I always forget him. So Corey, if you want to introduce yourself, that would be fantastic. I always forget you and I'm so sorry.
My name is Corey Buck. I'm the community service representative serving District 2. And my favorite thing about Wichita is Top Golf, because I got to play with my family. But
Okay, I'm gonna take a point of privilege and let our friends, community or district advisory members unwind. So Chris, you want to go next?
Hey, sure. Chris Broderick. I live near 37th and Woodlawn in the Northbrook neighborhood. And I just recently found myself in the public library downtown. I hadn't been in there. I know that's been open for 3 or 4 years now, but that was a really nice facility. So wanted to mention that.
Awesome. The baby mosh pit's my favorite. Roman.
I didn't find that.
Yes, good evening, Roman Rodriguez, Sycamore Village in the Waterford edition. And I think my favorite thing about Wichita today is being a part of Chiefs Kingdom.
Nice hat. And I think I saw you leaving my neighborhood this afternoon.
Yes, you did. I waved. You didn't wave back, but I won't hold it against you.
I realized after I don't take the hat very often. All right, Faith, you've been waiting a week for this, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
So we've had some zoning cases.
What name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Faith Martin. I represent the East Ridge Neighborhood Association, which is pretty close to Sam's neighborhood. We live near the mall, and there's been a couple zoning cases that were near the mall that we went into extensively. But I had never been to round one, and I finally went, and I am proud to say that we have made the right decision. Please support that business because we made the right decision to do everything that we did with that business because we finally went. We had so much fun there. We took advantage of all of the amenities, including the zoning decisions that we made.
Karaoke. Did you karaoke?
And the bar. And it was a lot of fun. So I'm happy to say that I was part of those decisions. So that's why I said I've been waiting a whole week to tell you guys. So.
Fantastic.
The extended hours. We went very late.
Bruce.
My name is Bruce Gass, been a resident of Wichita for over 60 years, representing Chisholm Creek Homeowners Association, and I really love how our medical facilities are now spread out all among the town and very convenient, not having to go to the big hospitals all the time.
Sean Baker, Pine Meadows Association. One thing that has been great, we found out about this last week, is Integra Technologies, which is a chip manufacturer that's coming to Wichita that's going to provide significant investment in jobs.
We hope, right? They have to decide where they're going to get placed, and then it also has to be approved at the federal level. But it's looking good. Yeah,
Right.
I love it.
What kind of manufacturer were it?
Chip.
Not
Chip.
potato.
Microchip?
Yes.
Or
Not
potato chip? Either one's fine with me.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer McDonald. I represent Dublin Court. And one of my favorite things about Wichita that I recently visited was Interest Bank Arena for the Thunder hockey game.
Oh,
They
yeah.
are so much fun. If you haven't been, you can get really good tickets. Like we were down like near the ice and it was a lot of fun. And then 2 days later, I went to a meeting, you know, the chamber meeting. And so it's just a versatile space. So I'm grateful that our city invested in that several years ago.
And it still has that new car smell. They've done a really good job of taking care and maintaining.
Tracy Adams, I represent the Harrison Park community. And my favorite thing about Wichita today, because I travel a lot, is our airport. So having to walk miles and miles and miles at all the other airports and coming home and just exhaling and then you just have a short walk is very refreshing. Yes.
If I can add on to that too, because I love our airport, the glass jetways, we're one of
Mhm.
only 2 airports in the nation that have those.
Oh.
And so when you go to other airports and you don't have that, you
Yes.
really miss it. I mean, I just think it's such a great way for people
It
who
is.
are entering our city for the first time to be welcomed.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
I'm Sam Lindeman and I represent the Bonnie Bray area. And I think what I like best about Wichita is the rain we might get tonight.
Our public works crew, probably also agrees.
Yeah, I bet.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you. Doesn't look like we picked up any new DAB members, so we're good. We'll continue. We have the agenda for February 13th, 2023. Everyone hopefully has had a chance to review it. Corey sent it out, I think, last Thursday. So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Lindsay. Second by Bruce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone?
Aye.
opposed? Anyone opposed? All right, thank you.
I abstain.
You didn't get to abstain. You can abstain for the minutes. But not approving the agenda. All right, so next on the agenda is approval of the minutes for January 9th, 2023. Corey sent them out last week. As always, Corey, thank you for a great job with
Yes, sir.
typing all of the minutes.
Have you been bad? Is that why you placed over in the corner there?
Yeah. So anybody have any changes or suggestions or edits to the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone need to abstain?
Now,
Thank you very.
in a hurry to do that.
All right, so next on the agenda is our public agenda, and we have one scheduled item, and we have a few guests with us here this evening. Kim Neufeld, who is one of the first people that I met when I moved to the great state of Kansas 20 years ago with Tobacco Free Wichita, and we've been friends ever since. And Carrie Rinker, also a dear friend of mine with the American Heart Association, and they're going to talk to us about tobacco retail license fairness and responsibility. So take it away.
We have a short video that we're going to play before we give some brief comments, if that's okay.
Yes, I have it queued up. Let me share.
Yeah, Corey, we don't need a microphone in the middle anymore. Is it like all automatic to the?
There's
Oh, what's it?
2 on the ceiling there, 2 on the wall here.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, fancy. Yeah.
What up, Chad?
Corey doesn't have as much junk doll.
No, let's.
Uh-oh.
It's adjourned.
I feel like Corey needs an assistant or something.
You say it's not good enough for a good job.
I just feel like he has too many buttons to push over there. Hungry.
Well, Corey's loading that. We also have some staff here with us, Jan and Aaron, and you, do y'all want to, just in case anybody has any staff questions about this, we have the folks who are advocating in front of it from the community, but do y'all, while we have a moment, do y'all want to introduce yourselves and let us know what department you're with?
I'm Aaron Henning with Public Works and Utilities. I'm Alex Steen with Public Works and Utilities.
And I'm Jan Jarman from the Law Department.
So I thank you for being here this evening. I know you're very busy. I asked some of our staff to be here just in case questions got a little bit more robust and into the weeds, because I know at some of the other district advisory boards it didn't. So thank you for being here this evening as well to our guests.
I am a native of Wichita, a mom of 3, and someone who works with youth every day. It's important to me that Wichita protect its kids from dangerous tobacco and vaping products. I'm proud that Wichita has a tobacco retail license in place that includes inspections to make sure stores are obeying the law, keeping Wichita's youth out of harm's way. This is important because research shows that holding retailers responsible at the point of sale is the most effective way to reduce youth access. Too many children and youth are using tobacco products. Oftentimes, children do not understand the mental, cognitive, and physical effects of using tobacco and vaping products. They account for more than 500,000 deaths annually. which is more than AIDS, alcohol, illegal drugs, murders, and suicides combined. Tobacco companies continue to aggressively market these products to kids. It is estimated that $74.2 million was spent in Kansas tobacco advertising last year. These ads are often targeted at historically marginalized groups. This has contributed to their disproportionate share of a tobacco-related disease burden. Tobacco Free Wichita conducted a store audit and found that the number of tobacco retail outlets, proximity to schools, and outdoor menthol advertising are all higher in lower income zip codes. 71% of Wichita retailers were within a half mile of schools or parks. Wichita's TRL contributed to inequities in our community, and we have suggestions to make it better. Despite numerous sales to Wichita youth last year, retailers weren't punished. Only the low-wage clerks received citations. This allows stores to continue profiting from selling to kids without facing consequences for violating the law. This isn't fair. There's a local fine of $55 for pup penalties, a full day of wages for a parent making minimum wage. Given the targeting of historically marginalized groups, it isn't surprising that Wichita data shows nearly half of pup citations were given to Black and Hispanic youth. When the age was raised from 18 to 21 to purchase tobacco and vaping products, it was never intended to punish youth. It was intended to restrict sales to youth. Wichita can do better by updating its TRL to help keep our youth safe from illegal sales of corporate tobacco.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michelle Ban.
So yeah, my name is Carrie Rinker. I'm with the American Heart Association. As Becky shared earlier, partnering with Tobacco Free Wichita here. The video is a little bit longer. It has a lot of supportive comments from community members. You saw the list of supporters at the end there. I'm really thrilled to be here tonight. I feel like we saved the best to last. We've been to most all of the other district advisory boards, but this is my councilwoman and this is my district. I live at Killarney Place on Rock Road in between 13th and Central. It took me 5 minutes to get here, which was really nice at the end of a long work day. I'm thrilled to be here the day after a Chiefs win, day before Valentine's, appropriately dressed. And my birthday is next week, and all I want for my birthday is the updated tobacco retail license. Just saying. But it is a good time to be alive, and we are talking about lives here this evening with keeping tobacco products from out of the hands of youth. So it is good news that Wichita has an existing compliance program with great staff, overseeing it. We're very thankful for that. And it's important because nationwide, 3 out of 4 youth do get their tobacco products from a retail outlet. And it's important because our youth are inundated with literally millions of dollars of advertising directed at them. And this was recently proven at the end of December. Former Attorney General Derek Schmidt joined a multi-state lawsuit against Juul Labs, which produces one form of vape products. And we won that settlement in December. And the state of Kansas will receive $9.9 million. And it was proven that these companies in the state of Kansas have been targeting these kids methodically and diabolically, I would say, because half of the kids that start these products will die from using them. The American Heart Association has been working with other communities to establish brand new retail programs, Lawrence most recently. And when we were looking at licenses, I looked over Wichita since I do live here and noticed that there are just some updates that need to occur to bring it in line with best practices. So that's what we're here to talk about. As they stated in the video, retailers aren't consistently being held accountable for sales to youth, illegal sales to youth. And right now, the clerks are facing misdemeanor penalties for sales to youth, with the stores not being held. And we believe that businesses profiting need to be held accountable, and it would create a deterrent to create a culture of accountability in the retail sales environment. You know, we, our vice president of youth tobacco strategy lives here in Andover, Kansas, as a matter of fact, for the entire AHA across the nation. And he put it very well the other day when he said, we need to look at this from an epidemiology perspective. We're a science and research-based organization, and you address youth access at the source, just like if you're an epidemiologist, you go to the source of the disease. And right now the source is the retail environment. So, you know, and then the other piece, as was stated in the video that we watched, is getting rid of the youth penalty. And believe me, I work for the American Heart Association. If I thought that the youth penalty was an effective and appropriate deterrent for youth tobacco use and access, you know, we would not be advocating to get rid of it. But, you know, the social determinant of health component of this, you know, with these fines that can add up, and the fact that it's just ineffective. It's ineffective. Kids don't even know that the fine exists, you know, and disproportionately harsh on low-wage families. So that's why we're here. The good news is I'm really excited to report that we've met with all council members. We've been at the DABs and have been well received thus far. And we've also been in conversation with staff, you know, spanning like 2 years at this point. And so I feel like we've got some well vetted ideas and conversations, and we're moving forward with that hopefully next week. But I'm happy to stand for any questions. Yes, sir.
Who actually does the enforcing?
It is the utilities department that we have represented here this evening. And I heard them refer to it as undercover stings. So, you know, they've kind of
That's how
got
they
an
do it.
air of mystery about them. I think.
And Wichita is one of the only states in the nation that actually has it, or, and correct me anytime I'm wrong, but from when I used to work in tobacco prevention and cessation, we're one of the only cities in the nation that has our own ordinance regarding retail inspections. Most of the time it relies on the state, but the premise behind it is kind of like, if you're driving from here to Topeka and you see a police officer, you hit the brakes, right? The more often you have an inspection, you're more likely to be more cognizant of it. So it's a reminder, but Aaron, if you all please say it better than I said it.
Well, I don't know that I can do that, but we do have a long standing, the city has a long standing ordinance that does try to limit the sale of tobacco to minors by focusing on the point of sale. We do have a long standing program to ensure compliance with that ordinance. That program consists of one full-time employee. His name's Tom Vanetta. Tom works really hard to recruit minor volunteers, and then we'll go and they'll conduct these stings to see if they can purchase tobacco. And if they're successful, the tobacco is confiscated and the clerk that made the sale is cited. At the end of 2022, there were 403 licensed establishments in the city. That includes both tobacco and vape. And Tom made 455 compliance inspections, so at least once per licensee. And logged 21 sales to minors and issued 21 citations in response to that. So that's really overall, that's a 95% compliance rate, which seems pretty good. Over the last 5 years, 111 citations were issued. So the 21 last year is about on average. And that's where our program focuses. We don't deal with minors in possession. That's something that WPD handles.
What is the penalty to the realtor at this point, right now?
The retailer.
The retailer, yeah.
So right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, that if there are repeat offenses, we have the ability to suspend or revoke the license.
But that's it. There's no fine involved, no pain.
Well, right, not currently. I think the ordinance allows us to cite either the person making the sale, the clerk, or we could cite the license holder. But the problem with that is, in order for it to have any bite to it, really, you have to get a conviction. Many of the license holders are out of state, so over the years, we've run into difficulties with that.
So they had a really I thought it was a very smart way of addressing that challenge, and that the new ordinance language makes it a citation or an administrative penalty, which will make it easier, I think, to collect those fines for the folks that.
So it has to go to court?
Well, but not making sales is a pretty big penalty.
Right, but they, before they can pull the license, a judge has to get involved.
Currently, it's a misdemeanor, but currently there does need to be a conviction.
So walk me through how the minor is penalized.
Well, right now, it's a $55 citation.
So the police are there, you have a sting operation.
I
Okay,
can tell you about that.
okay,
I work with the police department, that's one of my departments. They issue about, most of the tickets that are issued in this city are done by school resource officers. And so it's done usually right off the property of a school, because if it's on school property, it's pretty easy, school can deal with that problem. But it's when the kid steps off school, but they're still close enough that the school doesn't want them there smoking in front. So the school resource officer will make contact. They only write about 50 to 60 tickets a year. So it's not a heavily used ticket.
so I guess I'm not missing, I thought they were penalized for purchasing.
So it's two different things.
Okay,
There's purchase and then there's use and possession. Purchase is through Public Works, through the retail ordinance. The use and possession is WPD actually deals with.
and the
that.
juvenile is penalized for the use,
Right.
not the purchase.
Because I think it's difficult to catch.
Right, I'm
these
trying to
at
figure
a
out,
point.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if they did get caught, is there a penalty?
$55.
And that won't stop.
No, they're wanting it to stop.
They wanted to stop.
Well, I agree. I think you shouldn't I don't think there should be penalties for that.
I agree, yeah. Cause
This
to me,
would
it's just
stop it.
penalizing the wrong party. The real guilty party is the license holder and the culture that he or she is not creating in his establishment that would incentivize their staff to not sell to minors.
Under the current version of the newest version of the ordinance, we're going to keep it, our hope is to keep it illegal to possess, but you don't get a ticket for it.
Yeah,
Keeping it illegal means that an officer can go up to them and say,
Yeah.
hand it over,
right,
which is, we still want them to be able to do that.
absolutely,
But they wouldn't receive it.
yeah, right.
What would it take to give this more teeth towards the retailers themselves?
The new version
Can we
does.
use their cameras, their tapes of selling? Can we use that? Can we confiscate that? And check out a retailer that way? What kind of teeth do we need to make this more real?
No, we can't take their evidence from them or make them produce evidence against themselves. But the new version is so much better, in that if we catch someone selling, the person selling gets a ticket for selling, and then the business will also be issued a $250 fine for a first offense for a sale having occurred, whether that owner is there or not. Just the fact that a sale has occurred from their business, they will have to pay an administrative penalty. And right now, the way our ordinance reads, really a first offense is don't do that again. You'll get issued a warning, we're gonna check you again, and if you don't get it a second time, then we don't suspend you. So we've added a whole new layer that we hope will have some impact on the sale.
What budget does, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, and the dollars raised, is that just to go into like a general fund for the city? Where does that money go?
At this point, we would say just general fund.
Okay, it's not allocated towards anything specific, so would that maybe be allocated to some sort of health program? Could we use those funds to be earmarked for something specific to maybe?
Or to add more staff,
Right,
because they just said they were
For investigation,
understaffed,
right.
yeah.
I mean, some communities, we didn't crack this nut open, but some, if that discussion wanted to be had with the council or the community, like had, an interest in directing those funds directly to the program, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know like getting volunteer youth to participate in these compliance checks has been challenging, especially since raising the age to 21. And I know Lawrence added in their ordinance that they pay these youth to do it. So, I mean, it's
There you
it's
go.
thought,
But
but.
if I can, if
Yeah.
I can have a discussion, I used to work in tobacco prevention and sustain for like 20 years, so I know a little bit about this. First of all, if there's 20 fines a year, approximately 20 retailers, and there are $250 fine, it's $5 grand a year.
Yeah,
So
right.
we're not talking about
No, no.
very much money. The other thing is, I don't know much about Lawrence, and I have been out of this now for 4 years since I've been on council. But the last time I checked, it was best practice not to pay the youth. So that way there's absolutely no conflict of interest, that they're not being persuaded. Am I correct
That's
still?
my
Jim?
concern.
Yeah.
Is then you go to trial and you have to disclose to your jury that if there's a jury trial, which you have a right to eventually on misdemeanor, you would have to disclose that you paid your witness to be in this case. It's a bad look.
I don't know, Denver does that. I don't know how they get around that or anything. I have no idea.
It's not impossible.
I just know that it's probably in the law.
I was trying to
Like a 21 Jump Street thing where like looking around.
So there's lots of things. Now, you might want to send them that way. I mean, I think it would be a great resume builder for sure to be involved with that stuff.
I just like the idea of earmarking funds to help sustain the program till you don't need the program anymore because the problem is solved.
I will say also the state, KDHE has just and KDADS has recently put quite a few resources into doing a therapeutic approach in the school system. And the officers will be able to hopefully have a tool to suggest to these youth and families who are caught. So we're excited to work. Andover just had 2 schools complete the whole ECHO process. So we're excited to bring that to 259 and help with that therapeutic approach and not a punitive approach for the youth.
I just said one more thing. I only say that because when it goes into the general fund, programs get cut. Because the dollars kind of just like go away and they're like, why are we doing this? And it gets cut.
That's
Becky's been a huge champion of this program since day one, so, and all the council.
I just wanted to ask a question. So in the video, they talked about how these retailers are.
Time's up.
You've said it.
Smoke break.
Welcome home.
So in the video, they talked about that retailers being near kind of low income areas and near schools. So is there any part of this new ordinance that talks about location of where these retailers can?
But
be
there are,
placed?
there's federal guidelines, right?
There are, and we're actually looking at maybe in the next year or two, working with the planning department to look at some content neutral signage regulation, not location of actual retailers, but all the displays and advertising that you see outside of the stores to kind of clean that up. Councilmember Johnson's kind of leading some interest in that. So not an actual looking at the limiting the retailers. That's something the Tobacco for Wichita Coalition is interested in, but that would be quite a few years down the road, probably. Work in that kind of language.
Yeah, because it sounds like access may be an issue. It's just.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are we looking for a motion to support the?
Or
Change
they
what
asking
you
for
look
support, or just it's receive and file, right? Yeah, so we don't actually make a motion or a vote this evening, it's just
Is
receive.
there anybody online that's saying anything?
Thank you. First on the chat.
So in the introduction, you showed us that this is chronic and is epidemic. And you're sharing with us some improvements that have been made. But we have one person checking 403 retailers. And it doesn't seem to be, I know big picture smoking is pretty trivial nowadays. But it seems to be that we need something a whole lot more serious going on than we have right now.
And Bruce, just to clarify, there's statewide compliance checks, so this is just an additional layer into what the state does.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is like cherry on top, because most
Exactly.
communities don't have this.
And this is what is keeping our compliance rate at that 95%, which is a very good rate. Most
Compared to the rest
cities
of
who
the
don't have this have much higher rates.
Yeah.
Right, but that's one check 1.5 checks per
You're
year.
getting about 2 or 3
And I'm not
checks.
sure the data is really honest about how successful that is.
Yeah.
Cause I know there's tons of minors out there smoking.
Vaping or using e-cigarettes more so. Smoking rates are declining, e-cigarettes are going up
Right.
because of all that targeting. And their addictiveness,
Okay,
they're more
thank you.
addictive than
Yeah.
traditional tobacco. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Jan, Alex, Aaron. Thank you all for being here this evening. Appreciate it. Thanks for the robust discussion here. And we'll look forward to seeing you.
Thank
All right,
you.
thanks. Have a good evening. Enjoy it. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy early birthday.
Thank you, guys.
All right, you go. Fire, don't sit down.
God, we were just waiting on
Sit
you.
down.
Don't sit down. So if you want to introduce yourself
Yeah.
and your favorite thing about which.
That point. I'm running late. I thought I missed all that. I have a job here.
That's a good one.
And a
Thank
good
you.
job. And I've been doing it for almost 25 years, so.
Thank you for your service.
Other than that, I'll go over, sorry about being late. I got caught up in my project and lost track of time, so that's on me. There wasn't any significant fires last month necessarily in our area. And just to give you a heads up, and I actually worked for another battalion, I think I did a dad last week for him at the beginning or maybe in the week. It was all the way out west. To clarify on significant for us is when it's enough damage to where we have to bring in investigators because we couldn't figure out what the problem was. So there's been minor fires, which there usually is, but that ranges from cooking fires to just anything minor like that. It's nothing. For us, we look at it as minor because usually by the time we get there, it's under control real quick and it doesn't cause a ton of damage. But citywide, and I'm gonna bring up some numbers real quick. I want to say citywide, we had upwards of just over $400,000 in damage last month citywide. And that would have been into other districts and everything to where we did have significant damage on fires. There's been a couple of fires recently here in our district though. Last week we had a fire, it was on a house. And I'm trying to remember, they all blend together, so I'm sorry, but it was on a house not too far from here that was under construction. People were doing remodeling on it. Ended up catching on fire probably about 4 a.m. And we arrived on scene, we had heavy fire on it. Everything got brought under control. Damage to the house, nobody was in there. So it was good on that case, but quite a bit of damage to the house. No cause right now on why it started. I know they had been redoing the floors. So other than that, I don't know what else could have happened. Other than that, a couple other things that we got going on citywide is the fire recruits. We had some graduate. They actually graduated Monday or last Friday, and now they're out on the floor. We graduated, ended up having 10 out of 20 graduate. We had 6 who didn't stay with us and they either quit or just fell out of the class. 4 of them had injuries, so they're rolled over into this next class or until they heal up. So that's where we're at on the job injuries. We did just graduate. I believe they graduated 17 out of the 20 for the EMT class that we've started. They are now in the recruit class that just started 2 Mondays back. So they are now doing the recruit class. They passed their state EMT is what I understand. So now they're EMTs, so they're able to keep on going with us and finish on until they can reach the floor. Let's see what else. I know we're maybe gonna be putting in for another grant to buy a new ladder truck. We've been doing a lot of process on that lately. We are doing a process where we're gonna be putting on 2 new ladders, which are the ones with the aerial buckets. And we're gonna put 2 more of them on, hopefully here in March is what our goal is. Because we did do a safer grant to get 42 new people. So that's still all in the process. And that's all in the process of hiring people, getting enough people through class, why we still have attrition with people retiring and stuff like that. So it's progressing on and I think that's going good. We're all really happy with the EMT stuff. Because these are all people who didn't have a chance really to
maybe go to college, take that class because they had a family and they had to work. So now they were able to get hired on, take the class while they're getting paid, pass the class, and then move on up through the system. So that's really good in that part, because to me, we can hopefully find the diamonds in the roughs. You know, because there's a lot of people out there who would love to do this job. They just don't have that ability to do it because they may have a family to support and they can't do both at the same time. So that's the only other thing. I could come up with a whole bunch of other stuff, but sorry, I was running late. I was trying to.
Any questions for this?
Question, on Saturday late afternoon, fire at 13th and Webb. You guys started fire in front of Whole Foods.
Okay,
Was that a cigarette that someone threw out?
was it in the mulch?
No, it was in the, actually, it's Bermuda grass, the grass burned, and it started burning the bushes in front of it. And
Okay.
kind of burned onto 2 cars.
I don't know for sure what started it, but I would say right now, this is the worst time for us with wildland fires or grass fires, as you would call it for us. It's winter time, no one really thinks, but it's actually worse for us now for those types of fires than it is during the summer. It's just the way the weather is, how dry everything is, so I would say it's probably a good chance it was a cigarette.
Did you see that?
I did. I didn't see the fire, but I saw the damage.
Yeah, there's the smoke, it was a lot of smoke.
I would say probably a good chance, because people like to throw their cigarettes out, and in those situations, that's usually what we find. It's hard to always determine it, because by then, the evidence is burned up in the fire, but I would say it's probably a good chance that could have been it. Thank you. Yep, anything else?
Do you ever partner with like Sedgwick County Extension Office to talk about like what grasses or what kind of plants are better to plant around your house? Because we've had some neighbors in our neighborhood association talk about like with droughts and things getting drier, is there things that they should be planting instead of like grass that takes a lot of water, but they also don't want to dry out because we hear from fire that comes to our neighborhoods, like it's dry, or there's burn bans and things like that. So I wondered if, have you ever partnered with Sedgwick County Extension to talk about that?
No, not that I know of, but I mean, leading in on with that, going on with that, you know, depending on where you live, but this also doesn't, we've also had fires here in the inner city where we've had whole blocks that fire run in short grass. And then what it does is it catches the taller grass that may have been left or the bushes. What we're trying to get out to everybody is be prepared. If you live farther out on the east side where you do have maybe fields by you, make sure you're aware of what you have around your deck or where you do plant your bushes or just trimming your trees around your house. And this is inner city or outer city. If you have a whole lot of stuff where your wood pile for your fireplace and you have that up against your house, well, that's just another huge source to keep lighting up. With during this time of year, if you do notice a fire that's going on and it's in the grass and it's close to your home, it doesn't take much time to clear stuff away from your house, get it, move it about 20 feet away from your house to where if it does light on fire, hopefully then it's not gonna auto expose into your house. You can turn on your sprinkler systems, stuff like that to help protect and do that. We've been pretty busy the last couple of years on grassland fires, and that's caused a lot of houses to catch on fire, garages, barns, and the sense. So I think, you know, you go to California, you go to Oregon, a lot of the places that have these happen bigger in the mountains and everything, they're a little bit more aware and people understand. Here in the Midwest, it's just maybe in the last couple, probably about 5-10 years that we've actually been running into this problem. We have the high winds and a lot of times it's hard for us to get ahead of it. It's one of the things that I know we've been trained on as a department of getting ahead of it. If you ever see us pull up and you know that a fire is running through houses and you see us drive by, maybe where it started or this house that has the most damage or it's starting to light up, but you see us move down, don't think we're passing up the fire, which we are, but we're also trying to stop it at the head. Because if we don't stop it here, then we're gonna lose everything. And unfortunately for us, we'll try to get a quick search of that house, but we have to weigh the options of if we can get ahead of it and stop it, and we may lose this house here. We don't want to, but we have to look at the resources we can get on scene as fast as we can get on scene. So you'll see that and people wonder, just like when we pull up on fires, we always have people waving and we always pull past. Well, we pull past because our hoses come off the back. It's the easiest for us. And people are like, oh, why are you going all the way up there? Well, there's a reason. It's just where we position our apparatus so we can allow other apparatus to come in. That makes sense.
Oh, sorry, one more question.
Yes.
There's a lot of fire hydrants that are, like covered up and say out of service. Is that just, like, you don't need them as much anymore?
No, that's usually due to them being broken or they're getting ready to be fixed, and that's done by the water department. So the water department, or if they put a new hydrant in, they may put a new hydrant in, but they have not turned the water on to that system yet. So what they do is they'll have them covered up, and usually we'll know what hydrants are out of service, but every once in a while it leaks through, so it's good for us to be able to pull up and see that, so then we know we need to go to the next hydrant and so on.
If we call our local station, they'll probably tell us like how long that's gonna be.
Probably not gonna really know.
Oh, okay.
It all comes from the water department.
By the water department,
Mhm.
okay.
Water department would have a better idea on your
Thank
hydrant,
you.
especially if you have one in your neighborhood that's been down for a while. We would appreciate it if you called,
Okay.
because it makes our job just even easier.
Thank you.
Anything else? No.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, I'm sorry for being.
Yeah.
Oh, that was terrible.
You're just so trouble.
I'm waiting on pins and needles.
Thank you, you have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, next we have community police report. We have Officer Peterson.
He's on a sting operation.
Oh. Well, that's way darker than, there's a lot more light in the car than it's showing up on the screen. So I promise I wasn't sleeping. I do not have a whole lot to share. I did pull the stats for all of DAB 2 year to date based from last year. And as far as part 1 offenses are concerned, the only real increase I saw, and it was just under 10%, but was theft related incidents. Most specifically was auto larcenies or people breaking into cars. So every chance we get, I like to remind people how to have a lot higher chance of that not happening to you. If we could park in well-lit areas, keep our cars locked and valuables out of view from the exterior of the car, the probability somebody's going to break into the car is very unlikely. The vast majority of time when somebody would actually take the time and energy to force entry into a vehicle is generally because there is either a valuable visible or at least an item that appears to be valuable. Even if a gym bag is left in the car and there's nothing valuable in it, the fact that it looked like it could hold something valuable is enough. So we keep our cars clean, park in well-lit areas, lock the doors. It's very unlikely. Car will get broken into, and that'll help make your life better and ours easier as well. We do have a couple events we are working on that are upcoming. One is the Polar Plunge for Special Olympics. This year, again, is going to be at Mystic Lakes. It's on March 4th. Registration's at 10:30 in the morning. Fortunately for me, I'm out of town that day, so I've got a pass on not having to jump in the freezing water. But I am going to help sponsor somebody. So if anyone's interested in sponsoring anyone, or just freezing, that's March 4th. Then we've already started, even though it's a little ways out, I'm still gonna bring it up. Hardy for Kids Golf Tournament. It's going to be June 9th at Tex Consoliver. This will be our second annual tournament. Last year was a huge success. There's a lot of very generous businesses in this city that allowed us to raise just a little bit over 20 grand in that tournament, which is monstrous. What we'd like to do different this year, though, we had that money kind of tailored towards getting school supplies for kids. And it's not that that wasn't still a lot of fun, that there was a significant need for it. It's hard to spend $20,000 on pens and pencils. We did it, but it was difficult, and we had tons of opportunities to make impacts for kids in other ways, whether it was Christmas, whether it was maybe gifts for long-term patients at the Children's Hospital. So many of these other opportunities came about. However, the city was very specific in their budgeting, and because we had set that money aside for school supplies, we couldn't use the money for any of these other opportunities. So it is intentional this year. We left it that the tournament is just for kids, period. And then so whatever opportunities present themselves this year, we're not going to have any static, and we'll be able to use that money for whatever, if it's going to be able to help and impact kids. There's two ways we're really getting money from that. That's, if you're a golfer, we'd love for you to sign up. You do not have to be a police officer to participate in the tournament. So we need people to sign up and golf the teams for the tournament, and then sponsoring holes. So we've got 18 holes. We're selling sponsorship for $750. So if anyone has a business or knows anyone that might want to get involved that way, we've still got a number of those available. And then lastly, we raffle items. If anyone is interested in donating any raffle items, know somebody who might have something that they would want to help out with raffle, we can certainly use more of that. That is what I had prepared. I'm open to any questions.
Any questions?
I didn't hear what was good for Wichita.
Oh, yeah, Officer Peterson, what's your favorite thing about Wichita?
Oh my. Well, I think I heard a couple of people already talk about the privilege of being able to call the Chiefs your home team. That would be my number one right now.
Yeah.
But let's see, somebody's already used that. I enjoy the fact that geographically, Wichita seems to make sense. Compared to a lot of other cities, it's a very easy city to navigate. And regardless of what time of the day it is, our traffic is not a traffic problem. I mean, you can get wherever you want pretty quick. So I always enjoy that. I've done a lot of traveling just here lately. And sometimes you forget how good you have something until you got to get out and really experience it in other areas. And yeah, I enjoy that.
That's fantastic. Any other questions?
Nope.
All right. Thank you so much, Officer Peterson. Thank you for your service. Be safe.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you soon. Corey, I don't see parking, right?
No, he was off today.
Okay, thank you. And go to the library. So I was at the Arts Council, the City Arts Advisory Board meeting on Saturday, and they were all of us about the big read
Oh, yeah.
and talking about the book and how awesome it is.
I mentioned it.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. John Clarity, Rockville Branch Manager here. I've been with the library for 28 years, mostly downtown in the Advanced Learning Library. And I heard it mentioned it's a fantastic place. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's awesome. Can you believe it's tax season already? While staff can't answer your tax questions, we have many resources to help you find the answers you need this tax season. The IRS provides library customers with forms 1040, 1040 SR, schedules 1, 2, and 3, and 1040 instructions. Those are available in the lobby of all the public libraries. Residents needing additional federal or state forms can use a public computer at any library location to print them off. There is a charge of 10 cents per page. And low and moderate income households can call the United Way of the Plains at 211 and schedule a free appointment for tax preparation assistance. They'll help them e-file, get the refund a lot faster. Investigate objects too small for the eye to see with a microscope. With the new material item recently added to our growing library of things collection, customers can borrow a microscope free with their library card. Each microscope kit includes the monocular microscope with power adapter and bag, eyepieces, slide kit, and a book called The World of the Microscope. Place your holds today at wichitalibrary.org/things. In addition to that, we have telescopes, binoculars, radon detectors, hotspots, internet bundles. So if you know folks that need internet access and don't have it at home, tell them to go to the library. We'll help them out.
How does that work? I'm sorry.
You bring your library card, we do a small agreement with you and check it out to you for 30 days. You get a Chromebook and you get a hotspot, take it home, turn things on, you have internet access. There's a lot of people in town, believe it or not, that don't have.
That's right, yeah.
So tell them to check out the library. It's a great resource.
Yeah.
And then we also have individual hotspots. So if you have a tablet, smartphone, or PC at home that can hook up to a hotspot, we check those out as well. We have over 150 of them, and they're so popular, they don't renew. They check out for 14 days, and after that, they need to be turned back in if we can't renew them. And folds on it.
We did purchase some more for the library during COVID, especially for kiddos who had to remote learn, because not all of our kids.
I had no idea. That was good information.
Good. So yeah, that's our library of things. You can check out our website. It'll tell you about all of the things we offer. Check out besides books and movies. So the library's really changed a lot since we all grew up. Mark your calendar for March 4th through the 11th. We are thrilled to host the 37th Annual Academy Award Short Film Festival. Each year, we screen the Academy Award nominated short films in the live action, animation, and documentary categories. And just visit wichitalibrary.org/Academy Awards for more information. And finally, Read with Us this spring, the 15th Annual Big Read Wichita kicks off Saturday, March 12th from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Advanced Learning Library at 2nd and McLean. This year, we're exploring the title, Can't We Talk About Something More Pleasant? By Roz Chaff. This is a graphic novel. It's a memoir on the topic of aging parents, spanning the last several years of their lives and told through 4 color cartoons, family photos, and documents, and a narrative rife with laughs as it is with tears. The memoir is both comfort and comic relief for anyone experiencing life-altering loss of elderly parents. So more information can be found at bigreadwichita.org. We encourage you to read the book. It's fantastic. Any questions?
Any questions for Joe? All right, thank you very much, Sean. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for all you do. All right, we'll go on to new business item number 8. We have a guest with us again this evening for Wichita Parking and Multimodal Plan. I'm gonna let you go. You're next, Tia.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry. I would like to add to the agenda, and I think we had our wires crossed because I'm taking this plan through all of the DAX for City Council. My name is Tia. I'm the transportation planner for the city of Wichita. And can you pull up my little, there she is. You'll remember I brought the downtown streets plan to you about a month ago. This is a complementary plan that has experienced the same fate as that plan. It's been stalled out because of COVID. So I have been beautifully presenting this plan to every advisory report I can find for understanding, and we hope to bring this to city council maybe in April. And so tonight I'm going to ask you for a motion. I understand that you haven't had a lot of time to practice this, but I do have a few copies of the plan, and in your handouts in front of you, you have a one-pager with the website that also has the plan linked to it in the middle of the page in big black stripe. I will explain to you the guts of this plan. This is not a normal transportation plan. This really is a strategy document and a management document for how downtown Wichita should manage parking. I'm not saying we do it today. Right now, we have about roughly 13,000 parking spaces owned by the city and structures and on street. We have about 900 meters and 1 meter maid. Or 1 meter man. What? Yes. And our meters are all coin operated from 1940. Many of our parking garages do not take credit cards. That's right. And we need to come into the modern times. Yeah. So we hired Walker Consultants, a nationally recognized parking firm, to come in and tell us how to restructure this. And they did this in 2018 through 2020 with a tremendous amount of public outreach. So bear with me. I will go ahead and move through these slides. I'm not going to read the agenda to you. I'm just going to dive right in. If you have questions as I talk, please just stop me and ask. Again, this plan was completed in early 2020. It's a guide to help our community achieve goals for parking and access for the next 5 to 10 years. Really what's happening at the city of Wichita is in the back room, we've aggregated all the parking facilities and payment systems into one department, which is me, with one person and a meter person. And I have a director named Mike Tan, who's the director of transit. And
So it's all your fault.
it's all my fault.
Yeah, okay.
And every year we publish a budget book and it shows that I'm losing money year over year. So I'm doing a really excellent job for the city. But we need to reverse that trend, and this is a roadmap for how we could get there. Go ahead to the next slide, please. These are the areas that were studied and addressed in the plan. Our consultants were here in town in 2018, and they literally measured how many empty parking spaces there are in all of these regions of the city. They looked critically at Delano, Waterwalk, the Century 2, the Government District, the Arena Parking District, and Old Town.
How many were there?
There are 13,000 spaces, and I'll go to the next slide.
Sorry,
please.
I don't want to
No,
stop
go
you
ahead.
right out of the gate, but
Yeah.
is there any reason why there's that huge gap in the center of why that wasn't looked at?
Because it's privately owned mostly. We were looking at city-owned facilities.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Do you know how many privately owned parking places there
I really didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, just curious, okay.
No, I didn't know.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'll have to get to the occupancy in a little bit here. I was gonna slide right into that. An ideal parking occupancy rate, meaning you go down the street and you look at 10 spaces. An ideal situation in a downtown core is that 85% of those spaces are occupied. Okay, most of the occupancy inside the city is more like 30 or 20%. And so we have way more parking than we truly need. Yeah.
That's interesting because it doesn't feel that
I
way.
never heard of.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll explain that, yeah. Anyway, with this plan, the way we are trying to revive it and make it ready for city council, we have a reappointed steering committee. We had a technical advisory committee, which was carried over from the older, when I say older, I mean 2018 work. And we have been to every advisory board. We presented it to the people at the Wichita DDC, the downtown Wichita group, all of the developers. And I really appreciate your time tonight. This is hard to take these plans and try and breathe new life into them when they have good content. We need to at least give it a running chance.
Since we paid for the consultant.
Oh, and then for that too, yeah, but besides that, go ahead to the next slide.
Can I ask another dumb question?
Always.
When it's public parking and you're asking the DABs, why are we asking the downtown developers?
It's the Downtown Development Corporation. It's not just developers. It's
It's a downtown
All of the
development corporation.
businesses, like Cargill and.
it's stakeholders in the downtown area. So there's the cities there, the counties there, nonprofits. It's not just developers.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Sorry.
entities that are downtown. That's probably a better way to say it. Yes. Entities that
Go
are
to the
downtown.
next slide.
It sounded like the developers.
Yeah, the downtown development corporation.
Well,
It is.
a lot of the times businesses want to come to Wichita and
That's right.
parking is used as a development tool.
That's right.
Because we have so much of it, we can give it away. And so there are two core beliefs that are behind this plan that everybody needs to buy into in order to understand this plan. And the first is that parking management is important. Parking is a valuable community asset. It should be available for people when they want it, where they want it, and easily accessible. And the other value statement behind this is that we do want Wichita to be safe to walk and bicycle in and use transit in. And so we really do have a vision in Wichita for a multimodal future. Okay, so please go to the next slide. And this slide I put in here because I always get the question, why parking management? It really does improve the user experience and reduce frustration. If you have effective parking management, I'll explain later what parking management is. You're not going to come up into places, and I'm going to pick on Old Town. There are lots in Old Town you cannot park your car in. And, you know, that's because it's not well managed. There aren't effective time limits or anything to encourage people to turn over the vehicles. People go there, they go to work, they park their car wherever it's convenient for them, and they forget about it. So effective parking management improves user frustration, not improves user frustration, but experience. It supports a cohesive sense of space of place. We really want parking in downtown Wichita to be somewhat standardized, so you know what you can expect in the various parts of downtown. That's not necessarily the case right now. We want to enhance economic vitality and vibrancy downtown. And we want to ensure that the parking fund can balance itself. We're not looking to make money through parking at the city, but we are looking to at least recover costs year after year.
What does that mean by encouraging turnover?
When you have cars that, a lot of the times, the cars will go out and they'll sit on the street, and a worker will park as close as possible to the store they work in, for example. And they should be parking further away from the store and walking to the business, so that that parking spot up close to the store is free to customers. And when I say encourage turnover, I'm saying put a time limit in place near the businesses where it makes sense. 2 hour parking or 3 hour parking, rather than allowing all day parking just because the space is there. So go ahead to the next slide. Again, I made these points before. Wichita is changing right now. I think we've got some changes coming up with the downtown streets plan that are very exciting. We also have a parking supply situation where we have way more parking than we would ever need. Please go to the next slide. I think this is the one I wanted to show you. The ideal occupancy is 85%. Right now, on a weekday, we have 39% downtown, if you look at the parking spaces aggregated. And we have a 27% on weekends. So, you know, in order to change the parking situation downtown, according to this expert and the general guidelines of good parking management, that happens at the 85% statistic. So an area would have to reach that 85% in order to implement the change. Go to the next slide. I think you've got a map next. On this map, where would the change happen is kind of what this map answers. The red spots are the hot spots where 85% occupancy is reached downtown. And you will see Old Town lights up like a little June bug over there. And then we've got some red in Delano and some in Water Walk. And some up by the government buildings, the courthouse specifically.
Is it,
And
that time specific? Like, you know,
they did this study on weekends and days. I believe this is the weekday data.
Can you show us what street of Douglas?
It's
Century 2 is the road.
Before those
Okay.
apartments were
Yeah.
built,
Okay, right there.
at 7, whatever that is across the river, those apartments weren't there yet.
Rivers Cliff View, yeah,
Yeah,
right
so
there.
this data isn't quite accurate, because I used to work in that building and you can't park there anymore.
This is all very fluid, but this
Yeah.
is just a snapshot in time. Of what parking looked like and what the potential would be for change. The green means we're nowhere near 80%.
that was in 2018 though.
This is in 2018.
So that's prior to a lot of the development that's going on downtown and
Right.
all the residential that we built up. Okay.
Yeah. What this plan is not, it doesn't say change this on this map. It's a management strategy of how to deal with this sort of a situation. I'll go to the next slide. Maybe it'll make more sense as we get into this. Oh, there's a lot of words. You know, I've already harped on maintaining parking assets is expensive. We have 5 garages that are owned by the city, all are in bad state of repair. I won't lie about it, they're just not nice places to put your car.
You're not wrong.
We really want to use the technologies that's out there to better the parking experience for everybody. And so, you know, we have a lot of point operating meters on streets where nobody parks anyway. And they could probably be removed. And, you know, we could put something on streets that, like a pay station that might take a credit card or an app for paying for parking on your phone. in places where parking is really hot, like around NASCAR Park or in Old Town, so that it's just differently handled
And that's to encourage the turnover.
to encourage the turnover. And I need to be really clear about this. In the plan, there is one of those little, I don't want to take up more time. I feel privileged to be here. There is a little flow chart, actually a bunch of flow charts that show, okay, if you're at 85%, then implement time limited parking. If it still doesn't decrease your occupancy with the time limits, then go to paid parking. There's a tiered approach that for managing parking, instead of just saying, oh, just make everybody pay and they won't want to park here anymore. And so please go to the next slide. This vision statement is on the piece of paper in front of you. Really, the timeline for this plan was it would be envisioned to be implemented by 2040. I'm hearing a lot of pressure in my position to get this thing implemented sooner. So I think change is always slow, and change always involves a lot of outreach. But in short, we really want this to be a high quality in parking environment in the end, where there's a lot of choice and a lot of opportunity, and people know what to expect. So go to the next slide. Here are the strategies. There are 3 buckets of them, and you've been very patient, so let me walk through this so far. The first strategy set are the parking management strategies. And the first is to utilize technology. I've been talking about pay stations. I've been talking about websites. There are a lot of things that we can do to improve the customer experience. Second parking strategies to improve parking enforcement operations. There are smart meters that will tell our enforcement officer where to go because there's a violator. Instead of right now, he drives around with chalk and looks at the meters for who's expired. Much more efficient ways of doing this. The third strategy is to address parking shortages strategically. So where there might be parking shortage, we can get into that process that I just showed you with the flow chart and start changing how the parking is treated in very popular places. So that would mean enhancing, adding time limits and making more observations. It's very data driven, and ultimately forcing people to pay for those prime parking spots if there's no other way to encourage the proper turnover. So go to the next slide, please. The second bucket of strategies within this plan are the organization and administration strategies, which is really the stuff that happens in the back of the house in my office. And go to the next slide. The city has started to do a lot of this. They've started to consolidate transportation functions into one single department. And they are trying to improve cost recovery for this parking and multimodal fund. And we also would like to improve cost recovery of the repairs and plan for maintenance better. So
Sounds like a tax to me.
I hear you. But we can't allow the asset to just sit.
That's true.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword where we're trying to find balance to bring everything to zero.
I was at this point, no one's talking about a tax increase.
Okay, thank you. I'm like,
No, I.
not like a
remember that.
red flag.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of the downtown businesses actually have to pay for parking, like in Old Town. So I sit on the Old Town Association board, and there's some businesses that are delinquent in paying.
And
for
they've been held at
parking.
the same parking rate since
A long
92.
time. Yeah, long
I
time.
think, they pay $7.50 a space, which is half what they originally were supposed to pay. So
Oh,
it's been frozen for a very long time. So go to the next slide, please. And the third are design community strategies, and this is the last one. We really want to support good design guidelines that maybe support alternative ways of getting downtown and moving around downtown, so that you can park your car in one location and get around easily. And then get back to your car easily and go home. So we're really looking for better design. We really don't do a good job right now about communicate with the public about where to park for events. Anybody that's been to an event in Intrust Arena knows this firsthand. We could do so much better.
It's just hard to hear you say we have plenty of parking. When, and I agree, when I come in to do business, it looks scary, but I usually find a parking. But when there's an event, it's sometimes between when I drop my family off and get back to be with them, maybe a half an hour. So a half a mile walk, you know, for Century 2 or for the Coliseum.
See, and I think in a city of this size, that should not be. I just feel like we should not have that kind of a problem.
Well, we don't have a good transit system is why.
We all need more exercise.
Which was gonna be my point. I think our parking issue and the original issue, I like that you put design guidelines that provide for greater choice like transit, but I do not hear anything about transit or expanding transit or assisting with transit. The average price of a used car right now in Wichita, it's $35,000.
It's a real.
People, the
My
average
goodness.
wage is not even that. So, we're doing great things with parking. I love what you're saying. I'm so excited about modernizing meters. I go to other cities and I pay on my phone and I do all these great things. So I'm super excited about that. Love the idea of updating and making it to where we can park very easily and I don't get a ticket because I didn't have quarters. But yeah, we have to do something about our transit system. So
I have to say that all these decades I've come to Wichita to do business, I've never had a parking meter that didn't work. Which, since you talk about how old they are, I just never thought about that. They are always working.
Yeah, we had a crew with 3 guys.
Yeah, they do a good job with those antiques. They were made well, they're probably from Germany, right?
They're American made, and you know, we had a rash of thefts of them last summer because they are antiques. And you can go on eBay and buy them for $300 a pop. So.
What's the total revenue that the city generates off parking?
Last year, we lost $70,000.
You don't know what the revenue was.
Not off the top of my head.
If you send it, we'll send it out.
When you say loss, so when we lost, how are we gauging loss? Like, you know, we lost compared to, so do we have a budget line? And that we expected revenue to come through and then we didn't meet that number? When you say that loss, is that how it's measured?
Yeah, we have a contract with the car park to manage our parking. And the garages and for the event lots, because one person cannot do all that.
I have a few comments. Recently, we were looking at moving our business from the east side to downtown. And we decided not to. And strictly, the decision was because of parking. And a couple of things with that. Wichita is not landlocked downtown. We have fairly high property taxes. We have fairly high sales taxes. Our hotel taxes are fairly high. I was at a conference at the Hyatt last week, Monday through Wednesday, 600 people, mostly from out of town. One of the biggest complaints they were bringing up was parking. Why do I have to pay for parking here? Why do I have to pay for parking here? I go to a restaurant and I can't find parking. Wichita should not have a parking problem. Personal opinion, if you want to draw people to do business downtown, bring businesses downtown, we shouldn't have to pay for parking. Period.
Yeah.
You're not in Chicago, you're not in New York, not in DC, and we should not have a parking problem. The city builds parking spots, they subsidize developers for it, they want us to pay for them. Personal opinion, I think we should not have to pay for parking. It should be figured out in the budget in the city, county, whatever it takes, but it's a deterrent. In a small town in the Midwest, we shouldn't have it. I go to Lawrence, my kids go to Lawrence, I think it's ridiculous, you have to pay for parking in Lawrence. You walk 2 blocks off Mass Street, you can park for free, but meters, parking, it's a thing of the past, and if it's just trying to raise revenue for the city needs to figure a different way to raise revenue to balance the budget.
The revenue raised, just to clarify, would be to maintain the parking infrastructure.
Well, they need to figure it out through a different means.
Since we just cut them. So.
You mean going to the park in Century 2, heck, the quarters, and it's a pain. I don't go to things down there sometimes because I don't want to deal with the parking. In Wichita should not have parking problems.
And that's what my point was. I just don't feel like a city of this size should be having a parking problem. Now, I'm from Washington DC, and what we do have a parking problem, but we have an alternative. We have transit. So you haven't given the community an alternative to be able to transition through the city. Our transit is not to the point where you need to be paying me to park, because paying to park is a deterrent. We're trying to deter people from using automobiles, but you haven't given me an alternative.
Right. I
And
think,
this isn't a.
no, it's
for the
not.
record,
It's not for you.
Yeah, not a personal attack on you.
No.
I just think for the city.
I think what we're doing is we're gonna use some of this time limited paid parking as a deterrent to make people walk in downtown Wichita.
Walk.
And, you know, it's really about popularity of certain block faces, because in this city particularly, everybody expects to be able to drive up and get a front door space.
Well, this is Kansas, and it's gonna be 90 and raining, and then 12 degrees, and then 45-mile-an-hour winds on the same day. So getting people to walk everywhere is we don't have cafes on the sidewalk for a reason, because that's not the weather that exists in Kansas. So I think it's fun to say we're gonna walk everywhere, but it's just not
Saying it's not
practical. I mean, we walk when it's like open streets, but having bike lanes is because you can wear a coat and a helmet and those kind of things, but we can walk, but also walking is a little ableist and not everyone can walk. We don't even have great enough sidewalks for some people that have, that don't have the ability to roll and walk everywhere or that need things. So I think we need to be a lot more, we need to have more conversations about the multimodal strategies here for biking, walking, transit, because I just think Tracy had a very good point. We haven't made it very attractive. And for those of us that can afford to toot around town and park our cars everywhere, or that don't want to come downtown because it's not attractive, I just think that we've taken some data from 2018 and taken some surveys, but it might behoove us to ask, why are we not investing in transit a little bit more and doing some free parking to bring some more revenue into the city, instead of putting it all in the backs of residents to fund parking.
I hear you. I hear you. I don't think the intent here is to put it on the backs of residents to fund parking. I honestly believe residents will always know where the free parking is in downtown Wichita. And really, this is really to capture visiting people and really try and make the parking multimodal fund whole. I mentioned we have these garages. They are just deteriorating assets and nobody's using them.
And that
And
should
we need
not
to-
be also.
And that should not be.
Yeah.
And so this is, you know, what the expert came to Wichita, observed and thought was a way to turn this around. And so.
Well, I would think if we're
You go
going
to
to
a baseball, go to a baseball game. And they charge for parking, which, okay, that's fine, but try to get in there. You can't, the backs up and half the ones are trying to do online. This parking lot, you can only have had to be on your phone, and then this one you can pay cash for, and then, I mean, it's.
And we're building a multi-modal transit center, which will add how many parking spaces? 200. Doesn't say
It makes you think twice about going down for a baseball game, and then interest or planning on their parking. I mean, most of the parking is people charging to park in their private lots, the city lots that are farther away. It wasn't planned very well, parking from those.
I'm glad you were looking at this and I'm glad you're the one doing it.
Oh, you're being sweet to me.
You're just.
Yeah.
We're looking at pull this rabbit out of the hat.
I know. The answer to.
We have more slides.
I don't think this is pretty much the end of it. Here was some boasting about the old outreach. They had a lot of working groups on this thing. And we know that paid parking is highly controversial in this town. I will. You know, it may come to the point where the council is deciding to lift the gates on all the parking garages or sell assets. I don't know what their right answer is. But as long as we're trying to manage this thing, this roadmap is kind of what we need, because we don't really have a framework right now for how to come into modern times.
Is there paid parking anywhere outside of the downtown area?
No, that's a good question. It's a good question.
What about out at
I don't know.
Well, because the city doesn't have any assets outside. We don't have parking.
like going Valley Center, Kita, that place?
Oh, that there?
Yeah.
No, I don't think there is.
Go sit down there.
It's just.
Which is typical with most places. So what is our recommended action here?
So do you need a vote tonight?
I can come back.
You sure you want that?
So the recommended action is that,
You got 20-minute buses running every 20 minutes.
so what you're asking that the motion be recommend endorsement of the Wichita Parking and Multimodal Plan by Wichita City Council.
Yes.
So in that plan, I mean, you're not asking for people to vote if they think parking should be free or not, but
No.
there is a plan that has been developed with community stakeholder input, and you're asking for an endorsement of that plan.
That's what I'm asking for, and I would appreciate any kind of a vote. tonight.
Which includes paid parking.
It includes paid parking as an ultimate solution for, I'm gonna pick on NASCAR Park. Okay, right now we have a 2-hour time limit on NASCAR Park. I like to go to lunch there a lot.
That's where we're gonna move our building and that's why we decided not to go there. 'Cause then we're-
Available.
Man,
Well, they got employee. Yeah,
So
they're talking
let me
about
ask you a
employee
question.
parking. Yeah, I agree.
So our recommended action is to endorse the plan you presented to us today, right?
Yes.
And
And
that
it's
plan
really-
is 2020, not 2022, 20.
It's a framework. I mean, it really is these strategies for operating parking in the city. It's not a thing that says, here's the map and we're gonna make a paid parking zone here and do this. It says, go forward and study occupancy
Okay.
and start implementing some small
I'd
changes.
like to make a motion that we approve that.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Chris and.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed?
Aye.
2 opposed. All right, thank you, Tia.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
thank you.
I appreciate
Thank you,
your
everyone, for the
time.
robust discussion. Awesome.
Parking's right up there with religion and politics.
It is. No, let's not even talk about trees.
Frustration. Fits.
Parking.
Right, seriously.
Does anybody want to come here for?
Do actually. And we'll go ahead and get started, so you can move on. Next is item number 9, CON 2022-00056.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Christina Reed. I'm Associate Planner at the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. And my favorite thing about Wichita is the house at 1313 North Emporia. It's got like it's like a brown building. It's in the Topeka Emporia Historic District. I know, I love the house.
Now you can make all the friends over there.
Don't make them like that. eh?
Well, I find it like that.
Random, but I love it.
Unique angle. So, yeah, anyways, on 00056. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to permit a car wash on property zone GC General Commercial District. And this is at 11051 East Kellogg Drive. So if we go back to 2003, there was already conditional use for a car wash approved by the MAPC for a portion of the site. And they operated on site until it was raised in 2016 to expand Kellogg Drive. So the property is currently vacant, and so they're proposing to rebuild the car wash with a larger footprint. So increasing the area of the car wash is why it's triggering this conditional use. Also, you have to keep in mind that south of this residence, approximately 115 feet from the subject site, is a property zone SF5 single family residential district, and it's developed with single family residences. However, there is a 25-foot easement with a drainage ditch and tree row that separate the subject property from the abutting residence. So the fact that it's also now next to residential, that triggers a conditional use. So, should this request be approved, the applicant would be required to comply with the supplementary use regulations. Do you want to just scroll down to the bottom of the second page, just so they can read some of those? It talks about setbacks and fences and lighting, paving, signs, noise, circulation plan, parking, street access, drainage, and maintenance. The applicant's anticipated hours for operation are going to be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and noon to 7 p.m. on Sundays. The proposed site plan shows an exterior car wash tunnel and interior car care tunnel, 35 parking stalls, including 2 accessible stalls. And the property is currently accessible from South Greenwich. And then there's going to be an additional drive that's added off of South Trigg Street. So that is runs north-south. I'm sorry? Does it run east-west? Oh, there's 2, is there 2 South Trigg Street? I was looking at the map at the time on the first page.
Yeah, they already had one there, yeah.
I know. So, yeah, because South Trigg runs east-south. Yeah, and then that's parallel with East Greenwich there. So the exterior car wash tunnel is shown on the west side of the property, with tunnel egress located on its west side. So with this layout, the dryers will be located near the middle of the subject property, oriented towards South Greenwich Road. And then 20 vacuum stalls are located to the east of the tunnels. And the proposed vacuum stalls are at their closest extent approximately 70 feet from the residential property to the south. The parking and queuing spaces are in conformance with the off-street parking loading standards, according to the Unified Zoning Code. And the proposed site plan that they submitted adheres to the setback requirements. A landscape street yard and parking lot screening will be required along the sites East Kellogg Drive and South Greenwich Road frontages. And so they're gonna require a 6-foot screening fence along the rear property line where the car wash property abuts a dwelling unit to the south, and you can see it in the aerial there. And this is designed to protect the residents from light, noise, and pollution generated by the cars entering into the wash tunnels, and noise generated by the self-service vacuum motors. The subject site has frontage on 3 sides. We have South Greenwich, and we have East Kellogg, and we have South Trigg. I do want to note here that that house there is actually zoned GC General Commercial, but it is developed with a single family residence. In terms of the conformance to city plans and policies, the requested conditional use is in conformance with the community investments plan, because the 2035 Wichita Future Growth Concept Map identifies the subject site as appropriate for new employment. And in addition, there's the locational guidelines as part of the community investments plan, and they recommend locating higher intensity commercial uses such as car washes at the intersections of arterial streets or along highways and commercial corridors. That's what they're doing here. The land use compatibility and design guidelines state commercial uses can be appropriate near residential land uses if they include site design features that limit traffic, noise, lighting and other adverse impacts on surrounding residential land uses. In addition, we have that tree row and the drainage ditch that's kind of a natural buffer between the residents and the proposed car wash. And then they have the 6-foot screening fence that I mentioned earlier. So based upon the information available at the time the staff report was prepared, it is recommended that the request be approved subject to the following conditions. Now, so this was heard at MEPC per request of the applicant. And the reason for that is because of condition number 5. It says freestanding signage limited to 1 monument type sign. That was actually used from an earlier report we had on a car wash, like we didn't catch that. And so we are actually MEPC approved it with the condition to allow signage to be in the underlying GC zoning. So that would allow, so this one has a maximum square feet of signage of 80 square feet. And then GC commercial zoning, it's 184 square feet. So that is what MEPC approved. I haven't heard any comments from the public. And it was approved by MEPC unanimously. And so with that, I will stand for questions. If not, we have the agent here who was able to answer those questions.
And I always state, I have had no public input so far, and I have had no contact with the applicant.
And I think they do a good job. If you look at their other sites and their operation that was there before, they do an excellent job. So I would recommend that we also approve it unless there's additional discussion.
So we can have a motion and a second, and then we can have discussion. So are you making a
I'll
motion?
make a motion.
I'll second that.
Now, do you guys want to remove condition number 5 and allow the signage to be under GC commercial zoning? Or do you want it to be according to the original staff report
Subject to the recommendation.
Yeah.
from MEPC?
Yeah.
And let me clarify, that's no, it's still no taller than 20 feet.
That's correct. But
So you're talking about the,
actual sign square
Okay.
footage goes from
I-
80 to 184.
and I agree with.
And is that in line with their other properties?
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, we're conforming with essentially GC elsewhere.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the same thing that we see all over the city?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I just want to make sure, you know, that's
That's a
my
good question.
neighborhood. I just want to make sure you're not brightening up our neighborhood more than anybody else's. And
That's a good question.
Yeah, I know, really.
Okay, so we have a motion, and I think Bruce seconded it.
Yes.
Is there any further discussion?
Did we hear from that person? I didn't hear if you said the person that is adjacent to that property, they
No.
didn't complain,
They didn't
we're
say
not
anything.
worried
I
about,
have no public input,
we're not worried about the water.
and nobody spoke at MAPC again.
yeah, right, it's been.
Okay. So motion, second, any other discussion?
Oh, no one was.
I don't think so.
If the property owners adjacent to it don't care. then that's what-
It was already there, so I don't have much.
And it was
qualm.
already the car wash.
Right.
before.
So we have a.
In fact, I'm
motion
happy
and a
that they're reinvesting.
That's right.
second. All right, any other discussion?
Anybody online?
I have just a quick. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm sorry, Roman, go ahead. I was just saying I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, I just had a real quick question. What's the condition of Trig, since that's going to be an entrance? It looks like an older version of mapping has it as maybe not paved. Is it paved now?
It's a dirt road, I just looked at it.
It's a dirt road.
We're going to pay.
Oh, they're going to pave it. The applicant is going to pave it.
The applicant is going to pave it. Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Okay.
Well, who can argue with that?
All right. Great
Yeah,
question.
I have no worries. Thank you.
Okay.
Stick the clean car on the dirt road.
That's exactly what's going on right there. Now. You may be slow, but we get it here.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second,
Let's
further
roll with that.
discussion, maybe the discussion.
We're all excited.
Okay,
Let's vote.
I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? All right, thank you. The motion passes unanimously. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have more. All right, so last on the agenda is CUP 2022-00059. Thank you,
What's
sir.
that? Thank you. Put a step down.
Oh, can you go off that one?
Yes,
We have.
We have to, they're locked in.
But when you go, there's a step down.
Yeah.
And
Security
in
alert.
the sidewalk. All right, ma'am.
All right, so there's the Canyon Properties Community Unit Plan. And it's located on the east side of North Greenwich Road within 1/4 mile south of East Central Avenue, so almost on the corner of Central and Greenwich. And they are requesting an amendment to this community unit plan to permit vehicle and equipment sales outdoor as a permitted use on parcels 5, 6, and 7, which are highlighted in the black box here, so 5, 6, and 7. So typically, you know, the proposed use would require a conditional use similar to what we heard earlier for LC zone properties not within a CUP. So amending the CUP would permit these uses to act on these parcels in lieu of the request because the public hearing process is still the same. So the language for the proposed uses and development standards for parcels 5, 6, and 7 are identical. What they want to say of proposed uses, condominium self-storage, plus all uses permitted in LC zoning district, including vehicle and equipment sales outdoor, except taverns and adult entertainment as defined by the city code. So existing uses within this community unit plan include a gas station and convenience store, self-storage condominiums, and a maintenance facility for the Minnehaha Township. Did I call it?
Minnehaha.
Minnehaha? Thank you. The proposed use would be developed between the self-storage condominiums and the maintenance facility with frontage along North Greenwich Road. The nearest auto dealership is within 1/4 mile north on the northeast corner of East Central Avenue and North Greenwich Road. And there are additional auto dealerships approximately 1/2 mile south at East College and North Greenwich. Therefore, we're not introducing a new use to the immediate vicinity. Vehicle and equipment sales is subject to supplementary use regulations. One, the car lot must be contiguous to a major street. The car lot must be screened per the standard of the zoning code. Parking, storage area, display area, and circulation drives must be paved. The community unit plan has specific lighting standards and noise standards. I believe that maybe at the end of the report. Any vehicle repair work must be done within an enclosed building. Portable flashing, moving, or off-site signs are prohibited, along with streamers, banners, pennants, pinwheels, commercial flags, bunting, or similar devices, and same thing with elevated display platforms. Oh, okay, so the lighting requirements that they were talking about are at the bottom of this page here. So for example, all lights should be shielded to reflect downward and away from residential areas. And the lighting sources shall be limited to 15 feet in height within 200 feet of any residential zoning district. And then no sound amplification systems for projecting human or music shall be, or human voices or music shall be permitted. And then the screening standards are the same in the CUP as they are in the Unified Zoning Code. And it goes on to talk about signage. You guys can read that here in the report. So the applicant submitted a site plan that they intend to construct approximately 1,300 square foot building with parking and circulation drives along the building, and the site will have 2 access points onto North Greenwich Road, which are permitted. So a little bit of background, a little bit of case history here. The CUP DP 229 was created in 1998. There's some amendments to, for self-storage and to revise the screening and landscaping requirements. The proposed application is conformance with the community investments plan because like the previous application, the 2035 future growth concept map identifies this area to be appropriate for new employment. The requested zone change is also in conformance with the land use compatibility and locational guidelines that are in the comprehensive plan. Industrial and major commercial land uses that generate pollution, odor, light, and safety hazards and high levels of traffic should be located away from residential areas and developed with screening, buffering, and site design features sufficient to mitigate these adverse impacts. And as we saw in the report earlier, the provisions of CUPDP 29 require screening, lighting, and adherence to light and noise compatibility requirements. based upon the information available at the time the report was prepared, staff recommends that the amendment to CUP DP 29 be approved, subject to the conditions that you can see here. And this went to MAPC on January 19th. It was a consent item, and we have not heard anything from the public on this item. So with that, I would stand for questions. Are you here to?
Is the agent.
Are you the agent? Okay, just making sure.
And just as I always state, I've had no public input regarding this so far. I have spoken to the agent, but only to confirm the MAPC date. I attended MAPC just to, because I wanted to keep my eye on this case, and it was on consent, so it wasn't.
And there's no homeowners association next door? Just residents?
I guess it's just single family residences there.
Okay.
Yeah. But we haven't heard any comments from the public.
No, mental health community hasn't said anything, right?
I don't know if those are owners or renters, but they wouldn't have been notified, only the property owners would be notified.
Say that again?
If they're renters, property owners would be notified.
Right,
not
that's
the
true.
residents.
Right. Just the land, the.
Be careful,
the
step
property
down.
owners, yeah.
Be careful, stepping.
Thank you.
But you haven't got any.
No, we haven't heard anything from the public.
Okay, I move that we approve as recommended.
Thank
I
you.
second it.
Second. Okay, is there any further discussion? Chris, Roman, any discussion or thoughts?
Yeah, I guess my only concern or thought on this is just how close it backs up to homes and how bright lights could be. I know that there's, certain restrictions within the plan. Are there other auto sales that back up to homes that we know how that impacts homeowners?
I would have to look at the map because I know that there's, as I mentioned earlier, there's a dealership on the northeast corner of East Central and Greenwich. But I would have to look at a map and zoom out. Backs up to commercial.
And then the other
Okay.
one's north on the west side, back up to beach.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so not to my knowledge. I know that, I personally worked on a case off of Central and Hoover for vehicle and equipment sales, and that was right behind a residential area, but they had like a line of trees that would mitigate some of the adverse impacts associated with a car dealership. And that was approved.
Could be.
Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second. Do we, or any, Roman, any other further discussion or follow-up?
I do have a question. These folks already own this land, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Good question. Any other further discussion? If not, we'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
Sorry. Can I ask one more question? They did get notification letters though.
Yes.
These property, okay, so.
So okay, so the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here this evening, sir. All right, last but not least, adjournment. Any other announcements or anything for the good of the group? Move that we adjourn. Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those
Aye.
Next meeting is.
Bruce, you might
March
stay here for a second.
13th, March.
Okay,
13th.
I'll stay
Happy
here.
Valentine's Day.